All right. We have Eddie from Cincinnati. Eddie, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So we were introduced about, I don't know, 30 minutes ago by a mutual friend of ours. And it was probably an hour ago because we've had some great conversations already. And I want
Yeah,
to bring
yeah.
out an episode because we're just having some really good back and forth conversations and finding common ground. So welcome to the show. And
Yeah.
tell us about Eddie. T- Tell us about yourself, Eddie.
Well, Eddie. Eddie is a by trade a certified culinarian nutritionist, and I've been working in the restaurant business for 26 years. Um, 40 years old. I'm real, very real, straight to the point. I'm honest. I'm one of those people who will tell you what they're thinking, no matter what. Don't care what anybody has to say about it after the fact. Is seriously, I am essentially Eddie.
Sure. Are you
I
married,
am,
Eddie? Or do you have
huh?
a family? Are you married? Do you have a family?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm married. Married. I have actually five daughters.
Holy Jesus, man.
Yeah, five daughters, ranging from 23 years old to 4 years old.
Well,
So
good for you. Good for you.
yeah, so
No sons
I'm,
though.
huh?
No
No
sons.
sons, no boys, no boys. Not that I know of. maybe maybe one day somebody come popping up with a boy. Like, yeah, this is your 95-year-old son. Okay, so
So
be it.
so you come from the culinary world,
Mhm.
and that means a couple of things to me. One, it tells me that you come from an industry where you're in a constant state of dealing with people, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yes.
and two, you've probably had a little bit of suffering here recently under the current pandemic.
Well, I tell you what. You know what? I tell you what. Cooks are very essential employees. We're essential employees almost just as much as there are nurses out here. I mean, we've been battling this thing out, man, wholeheartedly from the beginning. I mean, without a question asked. There's not many food restaurants have been shut down,
Sure.
and so I fight the pandemic every day.
So
Yeah.
we talked beforehand, and one of the things that we were going to talk about was the education, right? So the big point of I was trying and find somebody's pain point and get them to discuss that, and we talked about the educational system and what people are learning in school, and is it valuable? Is it good information? Does it fit a narrative? I'm just going to open it up and let you talk about it.
The garbage that we're taught every day is garbage. I mean, I could end it at that right there. It is straight up 100% trash.
Is
Hell, black kids are taught the same thing that white kids are taught, and it's all trash. It's all to make the government look good and the people look like they ain't shit. I mean, it's just a narrative all day, every day. It is pumping your kid's head full of garbage. They are not giving your kid the 100% truth.
is it safe to say that the narrative taught in our school system creates a master slave mentality regardless of race?
Oh man, oh what? Hell, hell. Hey, I tell you what. Hey, there you go. I, I, I personally went to
Okay.
Milford, Milford Main Middle School, Milford Junior High School, Milford High School. Milford was is majority white, and what they did for Black History Month, what we learned was Roots, the movie Roots. That was the educational system of Black History Month. It was
Wow.
literally they spanned out the movie Roots throughout the course of 30 days, and then they give you a quiz at the end, and it would have things like, what did Toby's name become? And dude, you can quote me on that. And I'm telling you, it was all garbage. like to the
So,
point where my mother. Okay, let me give you a little bit of my educational
sure.
history. I was mostly taught by my parents. Uh, I was born and raised in Hillsborough County, Florida. I was raised on a citrus farm in Hillsborough County, Florida. I was born via midwife. Because of the powers that be, I had to be registered as an American, which I'm pretty sure we'll probably get into a little bit of later in that. But I had to be registered as American. And so my birthday is naturally on June 3rd. But how I was registered was on June 4th, the next day. And so I celebrate my birthday on June 4th because legally that is my birthday. If you want to know about that later on, come and
Yeah.
ask me because, dude, I'll run it down to you. And you know what? A lot of Americans don't even understand that. I was
Well,
born via midwife, and I was born on June 3rd, but my birthday is on June 4th. Remember that.
well,
But
feel free to
huh?
talk about that. I mean, you can expound on that if you like. I don't
Well,
think
well, well,
it's up to
well,
you.
when it comes to that, is that America, America, if you're listening, you have a birth number. Birth is something that is a word that was given for people who brought products overseas. So if I brought something from, say, France to America, I birthed this particular spice or whatever to America. It's a
Okay.
birth. You know what I'm saying? So beforehand, it was like, oh, remember watch an old movie and they say, oh, she is with child, she had a child, or she gave life to a individual or whatever. Then it became give birth. Birth is something that is pushed through water, like via water.
Mhm.
So when you became a corporation back in 1913, when America became a corporation that could no longer hold a gold standard, that's why I'll get on the Gisera thing here in a second. Is that when we went from a gold standard, we went to a corporation standard, actually, what you want to call it. So they needed birth. They needed people to be, objects of slavery. In my words, that I can actually say, is that they needed you to be a part of the system. See, when I was born on June 3rd of 1980, I learned in 2009 that I was actually born on June 3rd because my birth certificate for all these years said June 4th because I had to go through birth. I had to become a naturalized citizen via birth.
Sure.
See, your government, your government, my government, everybody's government actually put you in the middle of a corporation, actually told you that you belong to this and this is what you're going to do. And they did that in secrecy. When they brought it to the public wasn't even ready for it. They didn't even understand it. That's why if you pick up your birth certificate now, in the bottom left-hand corner or on the bottom right corner, there's a group of numbers. That's your human debt number. You are the debt in America. So when they say you're trillions of dollars in debt, that probably means because a lot of people died or something. I don't know what, they could honestly mean by debt. How am I indebted to you when you take the money that I make every day?
Mhm.
Because if it was a gold standard, a monetary value system, I wouldn't be in debt at all. I go to work every day. But
Which is
in order for the,
That's
huh?
an interesting point because people don't realize when they gain dual citizenship, they're required to pay taxes to two different countries
Yes,
based on
exactly.
who they belong to.
Because yes,
Right.
because every country adopted that system because America was so successful behind it.
Mhm.
America was so successful behind it. They made so much money. Do you know, like, what's funny is that when people talk about the Great Depression, it only affected the citizens. The rich stayed rich. Actually, they became filthy rich. And just like the recession that happened under George Bush, the they they were filthy rich. Hell, did you know that the billionaires across the United States actually generated probably $42.9 billion a week during the entire pandemic? They were making all kinds of money and they still qualify for a tax break. Oh,
You-
no, 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 no. Let me scratch that. Not only a tax break, but they qualify for recovery money.
It,
Like,
it,
yeah,
it was
go ahead.
interesting. I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and he and I both have similar views of passing a flat tax where a VAT, if you will, different foreign countries have VAT, and everybody argues that point that it'll negatively impact the poor, and that's the reason why we don't do it. But in reality, it's because it'll negatively impact the rich.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh, because you know what? If you make the rich pay taxes, the first thing they do is they get pissed. They get mad. It's the number one reason why there's this whole smear campaign against Obama. You know what? I tell you what, Obama was as good as any president is going to be, because the sheer fact is hell. What else could he do? He couldn't do anything besides do anything in the confines of what he was going to do. All he did was he made sure that Americans got their due, and he taxed the rich. As soon as you tax the rich, a smear campaign comes out. Hell, you remember when they were trying to impeach Bill Clinton for perjury over getting his dick sucked? sorry to say it on your podcast. I mean, dude, that was a thing. Like seriously, and they couldn't impeach Obama because he didn't do anything wrong. But look at after the fact. Oh, he was a molester. He's a child pedophile. A child. This and it. Trust me, it's all a tactic made by the elite. No, I'm not talking about Republican or Democrat. I'm talking about this is the elite, the people above it, the people who actually hire the Republicans and Democrats to actually run for president. Because you don't pick a president, they pick one. That's the reason why, if say the popular vote says Hillary Clinton's going to be president, the Electoral College says no, Donald Trump will be. Oh no, the same thing with Al Gore. No, George Bush is going to be, because they pick who's going to be there. It's not you. And they'll call it Electoral College all day long. Whatever, it's the elite college, and they're going to do whatever they want to do whenever they're ready to do it. Because we're not going to have anybody that's going to go against our system. Our system is being this. We will not be taxed again. Like I was trying to talk before about Alec at the ALEC. And I should look the name up beforehand before I got here and did this. But with Alec, it's politicians and corporations that define that. There's no other person in that group outside of a politician or a corporation. Like, name one person that's outside of any of that. None at all. There's none.
I kind of have a different. I always tell everybody I feel sorry for whoever the president is, regardless of who it is.
Oh yeah.
And then I also tell everybody that whoever is sitting in that chair, whoever's sitting in that office, my hope is that they'll do the best job that they can.
Exactly.
And then I also tell everybody I'm a little bit older than you, not much, but I also openly state, and this pisses everybody off equally, when I tell people that I haven't seen a good president in my lifetime. None of them.
Not at all. No. Like I said before. It is honestly, what do you want them to do? What do you want a president to do? Is because the president is already bought and paid for. He's already going to do what he is going to do, no matter what. And so when you say you don't see a good one, it doesn't matter whether you see a good figurehead or not. You got to talk about the people behind them, because Congress can still help. The president can make a law right now. I can sign it as the president of the United States. I can sign an executive order right now. Congress could veto it right now. Mm-hmm. This is the state of America that you live in, because there is no guaranteed force. There is nobody saying, you know what, it's no, this is the bottom line. There's nothing like that. You got a group of people who make all the choices every day, all day. Now, they could be rich, poor, whatever you want to call them, but guess what? They make choices for all of us.
Yeah, I think
you know what?
I think that's a fair statement that probably most would agree with. And that's kind of, it's kind of interesting going back to what do we agree with? I think we can agree on that a lot of what we see or hear, and when we talk about fake news and we talk about the narratives and all of this other stuff, it seems to most of us, we as a collective, that we're being fed our next day's flavor of oatmeal.
Oh yeah. Oh, you're being fed gruel all day long. Oh man, they don't even care. No, they don't even care what they give you. Hell, they can have flies in it. They don't care. You know, I mean, they are pushing to you what they want to push to you. And guess what? At the end of the day, you're either gonna accept it or not. What are you gonna do about it? You know, it's like dealing with the bully on the schoolyard, and that kid is bigger, faster, stronger than everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you can't physically beat him. You can only outsmart him.
Mm-hmm.
So when you try to outsmart him, and then he goes and gets the whole GLEAT team to come down, you know, I mean, and beat you. I mean, you know, you are dealing with the mastermind of masterminds of the greatest. You are dealing with the upper echelon of under. Like, I don't even think people even understand how great of the force that they're dealing with is. Is that this force was put together well before the first president of the United States came about. You know, I mean, as of America.
Do you play poker at all? Have you played poker?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I never want to assume anything. It's like, you know, I tell everybody that being just the average Joe in this country is like sitting down at a poker table and you have $100 in chips, and they have $1 million. And it doesn't matter how good of a poker player you are, they will run you dry because they have.
A joke by Tracy Morgan. He said, cocaine is 99-0. You ain't beating it. Dude, dead serious. You ain't beating it. I mean, like, you can. You know what? I tell you what. A lot of people think that, well, we're gonna beat them through force. No, you're not. Because you wanna know what? Half of America believes this crap, and the other half wants to believe it, and the half of that half wants to understand it. The half of that half, I mean, you're dealing with a number that is so small of people who actually woke up and said, dude, we're being fucked. Right. I mean, we're being fucked. I mean, what?
Let me lead you down that path a little bit, okay? Because I see what the national news is putting out. And, you know, we talked before, I live literally in the epicenter of the George Floyd, the rioting, all of this stuff. So I did this video, and I mean, I literally, Eddie, I had people calling me liar, you know, calling me a liar. I drove through as they were looting the night that they burnt the precinct down. And I made a video, right? So it's all live. It's right there, unedited on Facebook Live. And I said, you know who's doing this? Here's everybody on the video. They're over half of them are white. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And I scan through the parking lot of the vehicles. They're all college kids that drove there in their Audis and their Mercedes and their all of this other stuff. I was like, wow. And I said, this is a false.
Here, let me hit you with a little bit of truth on that one. It wasn't only them. It's that you had a whole group of people, period. It's like you had so many people that became a detriment to the actual protest that now everybody worries about looters and rioters. Like, you missed the whole message that was being produced to you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because you're worried about, I can honestly quote countless politicians that said, oh, Black Lives Matter has become a terrorist group. Black Lives Matter. I can tell you like this right now is that, you know, I know a few folks in the group, and they didn't have nothing to do with it at all. Actually, you had alt-right groups, white supremacist groups, you had white college kids, you had black supremacists, you had people over there just doing the most to destroy the actual structure of what was being produced. It's like, okay, guess what? Black Americans are being treated poorly in America. I think it's time that we stand up and we say something about it. Oh, no. All lives matter first was the first thing said. And then when, you know, it came down to actually watching the George Floyd video, which was actually truly disgusting. And, you know, if you watch it, hell, I seen the body cam footage. And you know, the most staggering thing I seen was that, you know, he flinched a little, he was trying to like rustle away, and that still warrants you choking him down. Dude, you know what? At the end of the day, it was like, you know, is Black Lives Matter correct? I won't say on every level, no, they're not. not on every level, but at the same time too, when it comes down to like people being mistreated and treated, man, beyond mistreatment, I mean, I think it's downright torture and torturous. When it comes to that, it's like they do have a point. It's like, have you seen these videos? Have you seen how they treat people? Just, you know, an unarmed man, he raises his hands up. Oh, I thought it was a gun. I can shoot him down. You know, it's like, man, trust me, dude, there's rules of engagement, man. You weren't shot at, you know? But then you could turn around and I could show a video of a white guy, you know, jumping on you, beating you up, and you didn't fire one shot. You didn't even fire one shot in the air. You know, you still try to fight him, you know, and then he's arrested peacefully versus being arrested in handcuffs or dead. You know, I mean, this, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, arrested in handcuffs, beaten or dead. You know, I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's like, yeah, black people should be disgusted about it because you want to know what? We pay our taxes too. You know, you are not short at all on coming to get any of my money that I actually work hard for. I don't pay anything different than anybody else. Actually, I'm in the same bracket as most people, and I've been there on numerous occasions.
Let me challenge you on something, and not in a bad way, but okay. One of the things that I always question is behavior, assumed behavior overall, right? So if you look, and I have this argument with a lot of people because Minnesota is one of the most diverse, right? And that was one of the things with the George Floyd deal was, that happened in Minnesota. You know what I mean? Because we are so progressive, unbelievably progressive. And so I came out and I said, this is bullshit, right? And I mean, my friends that live, you know, even locally, because they're so progressive, they turned on me. I mean, it was like vampires on evening feed. And I said, here's the thing, especially just in Minnesota. My first argument is that you can't create a narrative for all. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
And people argue with me on this is the way it is in Minneapolis, and it's the same way in Cincinnati. You see what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what. You know what? I'll tell you what. Cincinnati is different than Minneapolis because simple fact is that in Cincinnati, when Ray Tenzing shot and killed Sam DuBose, you know, which he made that national. Sam DuBose made that national headline when they started showing all the black people killed by cops, unarmed black men killed by cops. Mm-hmm. He made that, and you know what? I actually shared a video on Facebook that I took standing on the side of the street of all the cops headed up into University of Cincinnati and the courthouse and all the stuff like that, because they were preparing for a negative outcome and people were coming out. You know what? In Cincinnati, they feel like, oh, you don't fuck with them because they'll burn this place to the ground because we done it before, you know. Sure. And I mean, and we'll destabilize this city, bam, like that. But at the same time, too, is the difference between Minneapolis and Cincinnati is that, well, Cincinnati, 2/3 of Cincinnati is black. Mostly black people. Like, you come to Cincinnati, you know, I tell you what, you come to Cincinnati and see majority white people, then you came down on a day where the white people actually left their suburban homes and came down here. Because the white people in Cincinnati who live down here in Cincinnati, they are not only like down with us, but when the riots and everything happened just recently and everything like that, in Cincinnati, it really didn't happen. You had operatives throwing bricks through windows, but you have majority of like just working class whites who live downtown, who live in the surrounding neighborhoods, who were down there too. Like, no, dude, I know these guys, they're cool. You know what I'm saying? You're a piece of shit. And they were calling out the police. And the police didn't like it, so they created a narrative. Because I'm telling you, like, and I hate to like run off on this subject, but I mean, in Cincinnati, I watched it happen. I went on a live feed, probably the third night of protest, and a guy tried to run up behind me and throw something at a police officer. Like, he bumped into me before he did, and I turned around and I caught him and I pushed him back. I said, man, what the fuck are you doing? And it's on my live feed. And I like pushed him back, like, man, what the fuck are you doing? He took off down the street. I mean, hightailed it out of there. I turned around and one of the officers was smiling at me. And I looked at him like, wow, you know, so you were looking for a problem to engage people.
Sure.
And that's exactly what has happened.
And that's where I
noticed.
That's where I was going. All right. So give me just a little bit of rope on explaining Minneapolis, because I have a conspiracy theory. All right. Because we had a lot of great Black Lives Matter protests after, right? But at the time, it seemed to me, because, you know, if you look at just where I live on my street, okay, and this is bullshit, Eddie. We are the most diverse group. I mean, equal. We have so if I go through and I explain 8 houses on my block on my side of the street in St. Paul.
Yeah.
The end house is a transgender married couple. This is no bullshit. Okay.
Cool.
Next to them is a I don't even know who's next to them. But then I have my next door neighbors who are a white brother and sister that live together. And then you have me and my girlfriend, white.
Yeah.
My next door neighbors are a 55-ish year old Black married couple. Next to them is a Hispanic married family. And then next to them is a Asian family. And then on the other side of them is a Black family. Those are the 8 houses on my side of my block or my street. Right? So the conversations that we're having right now, you know what I mean? Because literally we're the spectrum of the rainbow on my side. And we all love each other. You know what I mean? We don't, if I see my neighbors, I'm like, hey man, how you doing? How's the kids or whatever? We're all looking at the shit that's happening, or when it happened here, we're like, these people have lost their fucking minds. Right? All of us. And we had them come to our neighborhood. We had 6 white kids come into our neighborhood and start damaging shit and trying to just cause a ruckus and everything else. And I looked over at my neighbor and she said, it's your turn. And I said, why is that? She said, because I'll kill them. Right? I mean, it was like these 6 white college kids. So, you know, we called the police, and there's this whole dismantle the police, defund the police, everything else. So the police aren't showing up. So what do you do? I called them. I waited for 2 hours for the police to show up. 2 hours. They brought like ATVs with them as they're driving up and down the road, just breaking everything that they can break. Windows, mailboxes, throwing bricks through cars, all kinds of stuff. And then finally I walked in, or I was already inside. I grabbed my gun and I walked out. And I said, hey guys, I don't know how to tell you this in a nice way, but I'm going to be as calm after I kill you as I am telling you to leave right now.
Right.
And all of a sudden they got scared and loaded up their vehicles and they left. That was all at the beginning. It was a majority white people. And then I thought about it, and we all talked about it. And I said, you know what just happened? Minnesota is so diverse that they were waiting. The big narrative behind over our shoulders, they were waiting for George Floyd or a George Floyd to tragically die. To use that as a, see, it's even happening in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Oh, yeah. Of course, because you know what? I tell you what, they need a narrative. They need one. They when you talk about like the system that is in power today and has been in power for the past 107 years, you're talking about a group of people who look for shock value. You know what? I remember talking to a friend one day, and I said, "You want to know what? You know what the most staggering thing in the world is that nobody understands is that America seen the Japanese coming during Pearl Harbor and did nothing about it." I said, because you know what? The craziest thing about everything is that they need shock value in order to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish. And I hate to get into that conspiracy theory with anybody, because you want to know what? I've been like called crazy all day long. And then, you know what's even funny is like I could be called crazy every day, all day, and I can tell you something that's gonna happen. I can say like, dude, I see it coming. This is gonna happen. And people say, oh man, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And boom, next thing you know, you look up and you're like, damn, how did you call that? And you know why? Because you can watch it happening. They're doing it right in front of your face. You were talking about a ruling class versus a peasant class as far as they're concerned. You are a peasant. You are nothing more than them besides tax dollars. If you're not producing tax dollars, you better get in this prison or die or be out here starving to death. Well, we don't care.
That's where I was going with that, right? So they need, and I tell everybody this all the time, they need you and I to hate each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Okay? They need you and I to, this, and I use that term, the whole master-slave mentality. It isn't a race thing. It is the master of the elitists up here and the rest of us peasants.
Well, because I'll tell you like this, is that, Abraham Lincoln emancipated slavery. But you know what? The funny thing about it is, up until probably about, and this is to show you their racism, which is AKA classism, which racism already happened. It already happened in America. Classism is the derivative, and since black people are inherently poor, they suffer the most. But that's as from American citizens. But you know what's funny is that he emancipated, but before like the actual 70s, I would say going into the 80s, the definition of emancipation was to transfer bondage, which means to take you out of bondage, which means that I can take the shackles off you. He emancipated slavery. What he did is he actually took the shackles off. Didn't tell you that you were still going to work and do all these things and still have to suffer and go through all these things. Like, it wasn't some freebie that was given to me. Me being free from slavery said that I had to pay more taxes. I mean, just literally, and I mean, seriously, and I mean, that's exactly what it meant, is that to transfer bondage. So when I transfer bondage, when I take the shackles off and say that, oh, okay, I'm gonna put you in a different spectrum, I'm still working with the working class. I didn't get anything for free. I work just as hard as anybody, if not harder. And I can still see the difference in it, because I work with white guys whose families didn't come from some upper echelon of society, and they still grind just as hard as I do just as much work as I do, are still putting it in just like I do. But then guess what? You'll have that kid whose family is rich. That kid don't even care about working. The only kid I've seen in the job that will work for years there without having to do anything.
You brought up a good point, because I tell everybody that racism is the excuse, or racism is what they're pushing in order to keep us dumb enough to realize that classism is the real issue. Right? Yeah.
Oh, so, don't worry. Hey, I tell you what. Here. How about this? Hey, I tell you what. As soon as white folks lose all their property and lose their bank accounts, we're still working on it right now. They're working on it. As soon as you lose it, don't worry. You'll be in that group that'll be treated the same way, because you are nothing but livestock on the farm until you realize that.
That's the fear, though, because it's not just the white people; it's the Hispanics. It's everybody. So when we talk about classism, I've openly said, well, right now the problem that we're seeing is, and the reason why they're pushing this racial divide so hard right now, is because the middle class, right? The middle class, the business owner, right? I'm not a rich dude. Yeah. I'm not a rich guy, but I own a business, and now business is suffering. So in order to keep me, me on that track of XYZ or whatever it is, I need to be angry with you, which is never going to happen. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's never going to happen. So I think that this group is pointing themselves out. And
But see, the thing is that like I said before, is that they can go out and scream and holler and block the street and do whatever, and you will see working class people disrespect that. You know the reason why is because working class people don't see what's happening because they're easing it on you. They're easing it. They're easing it in. It's kind of like imagine fascism as a baby, and you raise that child. You don't know that child is fascist until that child is old enough to express its opinions and do everything and work hard and work hard in order to get its way. That's what people fail to realize. It's like no matter how many hours we think we grind and do everything, they got 30 plus hours working against us. You know what I'm saying? I mean, honestly, per each individual, it's like for every 100 hours I work, they're working 130 just to hold me down a little bit tighter. And it has nothing to do with my skin color, so to speak. It just said my skin color, me personally, it makes it easier for them to get it off because you wouldn't know what they'll do it to me. And they'll tell you all day, every day, oh, you're white, you don't have to worry about that, or you're white, or this or that. But you do have to worry about it, and you should be afraid of it because you wouldn't know what they'll abuse me to pass a law. And I mean seriously. And this even goes out to the Ku Klux Klan. You get what I'm saying? This will go out to the Ku Klux Klan. Is that they will pass a law shitting on me so they can get you. I mean, what people fail to realize is when Donald Trump walked into office, true story. When he walked into office, one of the first bills that he ever signed an executive order over and passed actually went against your Fourth Amendment right.
Mm-hmm.
Your right to privacy and those acts. What he did is he literally created that. Oh, they can commit warrantless searches, no knock warrants, Breonna Taylor. I mean, things like that. I mean, so when they execute them on black people, it's like, oh man, it's black guys until they do it to a white guy.
Sure.
On his property in the middle of the South. But guess what the media won't do? The media won't show that because the media doesn't know about it because it's about what's reported to the media. The media is kind of your friend. You have your CNN who is far left. You have your Fox who's far right. But then you have a lot of independent sites who never even heard of these things happening because the simple fact is that they're not even in touch with that particular demographic that it happened in. Like it could happen in middle of rural Idaho, and nobody would know. It could happen to a potato farmer every day, and nobody would know because the simple fact is that it has to be reported first. So here it is. You have an American whose rights are being violated, and you don't know about it because the simple fact is just so far out that it's not close. See, right here in the city, in like say Cincinnati or even Minneapolis, there are cameras everywhere. There's somebody somewhere. There's always something. And now they're getting tripped up and caught in it. So what are they doing? They're playing a narrative. Like, okay, well, like it's like this: Black lives matter, all lives matter. Oh, white lives matter. Chinese, Mexican, Chinese, Mexican from the moon. All of it matters. Mm-hmm. And you look at them and say, well, okay, that's fine. But you see black people getting done in like this. So you see how we're being treated. Do you not care? And no, it's not that. So that's the whole argument right there is that you have people who are saying like, man, dude, you're bitching about nothing. And those people are the ones who control the narrative of, on my uncle, we got done the same way. And you don't know nothing about that because you don't care. It's not that Black Lives Matter doesn't care because you wouldn't know what's funny is that I forget the kid's name. I forget his name. He went to buy some weed from a guy, and it wound up being a police bust. And he drove off, and the cops fired into his back window and killed him, a white guy. Did you know Black Lives Matter protested? Went to that police department and protested over his life. White kid. And
let's back up.
And
Let's back up a little bit though, right? Because so when we talk about what isn't happening or isn't known, I'm going to give you an example that happened before the George Floyd killing. All right. And I'm going to throw you for a loop. Happened in Cleburne. I think it's called Cleburne, Florida. That this, and there's video of it. There's actually,
they put Claiborne. Claiborne, Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. So this guy was actually shot by the police 82 times. 82 times. okay, for driving off from a traffic stop. And he just drove, and you can see the video. He's actually a military veteran, a white dude, and they show this footage as if they were proud of it, right?
No.
So it's like a 25-minute video, including them killing him. They claim that he had a weapon and all kinds of stuff. But 82 times they shot this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, you know, that wasn't national news. I'll give you a better one, okay? A better one that happened here. And I said that's just, we have a big Hmong population here, right? Hmong is an Asian culture. And right after the George Floyd incident happened here, there was a kid, right? I don't even know if he was an adult, a Hmong young man that was killed by a police officer. Never made the news. And I said, this is a tragedy. Unarmed, you know what I mean? Unarmed. And this, I said, it just doesn't fit the narrative.
Yeah.
Because they want us.
You know what? Because you know what? I keep telling people this, and I keep especially telling this to black people. It's like they're trying to get you riled up. They want to get you riled up. They want you to burn it down. They want to show civil unrest so they can declare martial law. They feel like they can declare martial law. And this is your government. I don't care right or left wing. They're all in bed together. Dude, they all go. Hey, I tell you what. They all go to each other's drinking parties. They all hang out.
They all went to
when they no, I'm saying when they go to Washington, when they walk into Washington and it's time to do their job, it's kind of like the servers versus the cooks, you know, so to speak. And you know what? I mean, you're sitting back here like, dude, essentially you all hang out after you guys do all your bicker and argue with each other. You're all gonna hang out together, and you're all gonna drink together. You're all gonna have good time together. But then guess who is ass in out of everything? Who may have lost a brother? Who may have lost this or who lost their freedom? Guess what? We're on the ass end of everything. And that's not a black or white thing, dude. That is a poor versus rich thing. Because if you were rich, seriously, if you're rich, and what I mean by rich, you're making an easy $500,000 a year without a question, and that's all pocket money that you can shove in your pocket. You're probably rich.
Here's a good statistic for you. You ready? So when they came out with the stimulus checks, checks said that that was anybody who made less than $100,000 per year qualified for a stimulus check. All right. And that represented 93% of our country. Yeah. Yeah. Regardless of race.
Yeah. So, oh, man. Woo. Man. Oh, I don't think people even are ready for that. I don't think people are even ready for that magnitude of a thing. It's like, man, majority of us don't make that kind of money. We just don't. And you know what? We can sit back here and watch them argue over giving us a living wage. Oh, well, it will ruin the economy, or to hurt this, or to hurt that. What about the small business? Trust me, if you're paying a guy $15 an hour, he's gonna, depending on what kind of business you have, he's gonna spend half of his check at your job anyway. You know, I mean, hell, there are major corporations who benefit off of paying their employees a higher wage. Hell, if you think I'm joking, Jeff Bezos did it and made $100 billion in a year.
Did you pick up on the number, or what I was hinting at though? If 93% of this country received a stimulus check, that means that 93% of us are equally poor.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh, hands down. Not even a question. We are equally poor. Equally poor. The only difference between, I tell you what, the only difference between a white man and a black man is literally like 2 milli-inches of skin. I mean, to tell you what is that, you know, the way they see it. Matter of fact, there was a comedy special on Netflix where Dave Chappelle was talking about all the poor white people that he went to go vote next to, and he said they're white trash. And and like his audience is kind of like, you kind of heard him gasp a little bit, and he said, you know what? The rich white people are the ones who told me that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want everybody to take that into account, because you know what? It's very true, because the rich black people treat poor black people very poorly. Like rich
Right.
white people treat poor white people very poorly, because you want to know what? They're rich and they all fit in a certain class. They all go to parties together. They all drink together. They all hang out together. They're all having a party together. While it is me and you are sitting back here still mad at each other over who got what on their taco for free. You know, I mean, seriously.
And let's not us, let's not us, I don't know the proper, let's not have us be dumb enough to think that we should be fighting with each other over the color of our skin, because it's really about the class we found ourselves in.
Right, exactly. Because you want to know what? The color of our skin, like I said, hell, that is 2 millinches, hell, millimeters, two, I don't even know what, I don't even know it is so thin that it can be cut by a piece of paper.
Right.
Let that resonate too amongst everybody, is that what you're holding on to can be destroyed by a piece of paper.
But the other big part of that is as long as, see, here's the thing, if we keep if we fall for it, right?
Yeah.
If we go after the cheese that's in the mousetrap over here.
Oh yeah.
If we go after this whole idea that you and I shouldn't like each other because I'm racist because I'm white and whatever, right? If we fall for that, we've allowed that narrative to win, because that keeps us from realizing the classism, which is you see where I'm going with that? These people,
win is so soft. Win is a soft word for that. The word for that would be glorious victory. Sure. Glorious. They're on top of the mountain with the sword in the air and everything. They struck you down. They defeated you like a what is the children's cartoon where he defeats the dragon and gets the sleeping princess? Is that Sleeping Beauty? Like it's not Sleeping Beauty, is it?
No.
Is it? He defeats the dragon or whatever and gets the princess in the end. Oh, that's that kind of victory. It's like they won so far beyond, because you want to know what? They taught you something a long time ago, like they taught me, is that you're white and I'm black. They didn't teach us to be human. Exactly. They taught you that you're white and I'm black. That's one thing they never teach people, is being a human.
You would be amazed. I mean, if you watch some of my other videos, before, if you had watched some of those videos before you and I had a conversation, you would think this dude's off of his rocker, okay? Because I come at everybody. You know what I mean? I'm picking on everybody. And my whole point in that is to make everybody realize that they're falling for the trap. And I'm gonna pick on the BLM movement for just a moment, because you can watch. I did this video the other day about this BLM protest that happened in Arkansas, where they went to this KKK dude's house.
Yeah.
The one organizer brought a flamethrower with him. Right?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? You brought a flamethrower? What are you thinking, dude?
Yeah.
But it's we're falling for this narrative. And I've started really picking on BLM because they made a mistake. Not as much as I overwhelmingly agree with what is necessary to promote positive change. But the moment you start sending people all over the place in $300,000 buses, okay, that much for one bus. And that was funded by those people up here, right? I don't know who it was. I don't.
Oh, don't worry. It's on both sides. Both sides fund that. Both sides, both Republican and Democrat fund that. Both. You wouldn't know why? Because when you talk about your political party, they're not funding anything. They're just there to make a buck. But the people who pay your politicians, their salary, like the people who pay your politicians their salary, they're the ones who are like, oh, you want to know what? We'll send you up there to protest in style. Here, let me do this in style. Go up there, become as aggravated and evil as mean as you could possibly be. Be violent, be vigilant, yell and scream, jump in somebody's face, be aggravated, do all this stuff. You want to know why? Because they need you separated. You want to know what? I tell you what. The narrative used to be black people should be scared of white people. Now the narrative changed to white people should be scared of black people. But what people are failing to realize is that in the age of information, especially because we can do something like this, like so great as this is sitting here and having a podcast and putting it on an outlet or anything like that, is that they forgot that people talk. And here it is, me and you are having the conversation right now. And I'm telling you that black organization I don't deal with. I don't care about the organization. But what I do care about is their standpoint and everything they're going to do to benefit people. Hey, you know, like I said before, is that they have done that. They have went and took care of some things that even I sat back and said, you know what, maybe they're the real deal. But you know, reality sets in, and I'm like, no, they're not. I mean, but maybe they're the real deal. But they're combating. I'm just saying this is that they're combating the system without guns or anything. They're just standing out there. And I'm telling you, like all the militias in the United States, all of them, black or white or Mexican or Chinese, Mexican from the moon or whatever, go and combat that garbage because it's all they're doing. And when I say they're, I'm talking about the people at the top. I'm not talking about the president of the United States. I'm not talking about Donald Trump because Donald Trump Congress has been fighting to keep their job every day because they all answer to one group, and that's it. That group isn't the UN. That group is the corporations who make money off of American citizens and then shell it out to the politicians that they want a law that should rob more Americans. I mean, it's just a toxic cycle that doesn't even make sense.
You know what? And I'm gonna close this out, Eddie, because we're actually coming into some bad weather here. So we're gonna, you know, this will be cut off regardless of whether we continue it or not. But I think what scares people to death, all right, and this is an amazing thing, and I challenge people all the time with this. Okay, you and I knew each other for an hour before this conversation happened. For 1 hour, right?
Yeah.
And I challenge everybody openly that regardless, we didn't even talk really about politics. You know what I mean? We didn't talk about Democrats or Republican, and we talked about some tough topics.
Yeah.
Where there could have been extreme differences of opinion, but I tell everybody that I can meet a complete stranger, and I just proved this. I can meet a complete stranger and find ways to agree with them, to have great conversation, to cause thought on both sides, right? So, you know, the biggest thing I tell everybody that our failure, the two sides, our failure is our failure to communicate. We're always talking at instead of talking to. Yeah. And then the second thing is communication causes fear in the powers up here.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. Ooh, man.
We need
man.
more of this.
Hey, I tell you what. I tell you what. There's a movie about to come out. It's about to come out next year. It's called it's the Fred Hampton story. Fred Hampton from the Black Panther Party. It's called Judas and the Black Messiah. Not only do I urge all the black people who may be watching this, all the white people and everybody else, I urge everyone who is watching this to go see that because you want to learn about Fred Hampton and what William O'Neill did to Fred Hampton in the guise of it. The reason why I say that is because I don't think people understand the enemy that they are facing. Fred Hampton had even the most conservative of white men saying one thing: I am a revolutionary. I am repeat after me. I am a revolutionary.
Right.
So when he did that. Like there were people sitting out there like, man, all right, I ain't gonna. No. They said by the time he said it like 3 or 4 times, I was saying it with him. Like, you know what? Because he was so powerful, he was able to bring about something that America definitely needed. And guess what? If you looked across it in his audience, you've seen so many different skin tones, it didn't even make sense. They were white, black, hell, everything you could think of was out there. And they were all screaming the same thing, because you want to know what? They were all being oppressed by the same system. In order for us to be great, in order for us to be great, in order for us to be a great country or anything, first thing we have to do is end our oppression. Our oppression being that you have a whole bunch of millionaires, billionaires, politicians making decisions that benefit themselves on your back. If you think I'm joking, there are not only countless documentaries that you can watch, but there are countless books you can read. There's people who like historians who will tell you that what's going on now is no different than what happened 2,000 years ago. You know, it's the same thing over and over again. They're using a formula on the people, and every so often, and don't get it twisted, and hear my words when I say this to you, because you're gonna mark my words on this too, please, by all means. You got it on video.
Oh, yeah.
That by the year 2050, the same cycle of garbage that happened starting in the 80s up until now is gonna happen again. You know the reason why? Because every so often, once people get so much older, and they wait till people get older, they'll drop the same thing over again. It's a recycled system. It's recycled because, you know, it's a great form of mind control. And that's how they got it. The indoctrination that is taught to you as a child is more realistic than the air you're breathing right now. That is so real.
I'm going to share something humorous with you, because I make fun of what I call the hot pocket generation, right? That's my son's group, right? And your older daughter, I call them the hot pocket generation, right? That you know, I openly tell everybody, I'm like, you know, way to be unoriginal. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? I said, you guys are as unoriginal as our political system right now. I said, you're just wearing clothes we wore in the 80s. Right?
Yeah.
It took me 20 some years to realize how stupid I looked wearing hammer pants back in, you know,
yeah.
Whatever, right?
Yeah.
And now you guys are bringing it back. I mean,
yeah. Oh man, dude, they brought back all of it, haven't they? They're just going right back to it, huh?
Yeah.
They're recycling the ideas right there in your face. Ain't that staggering? That's staggering, isn't it? It's like, dude, you'll watch your kid do something that you were doing. Like, dude, why are you doing that? Like, dude, I was dumb when I did that. No, stop. Dude, I got a 23-year-old daughter, and I tell her all the time, like, stop doing that. Like, dude, back in 1990, we did that, and she looks at me like this. You're old. And I say, like, yeah, I'm old, man. And guess what? When I was a kid, we did what you're doing right now. Yep. And she looks at me like this, like, you can't be serious. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, dude, here. Hey, you know what's crazy is that I showed her some of the music that we listened to, that me and her mother listened to. And granted, we're in our 40s, right? I've let her listen to it. It became her favorite genre. Oh, this is way better than stuff they're making now. It's like, dude, because it's like the second version of it.
But I'm really hoping that the Running Man doesn't come back as a dance style.
It did. When it did. They called it all the kids were doing it for a while there. No. It was a different dance they brought back called the Running Man, and the Running Man is now called something different. Like, dude, they brought it all back and they called it different names now.
All right, so the other one, you know, and we got to close this out here, but the other style or fad or whatever from our lifetime that I hope, I mean, I don't know, I'm gonna have to turn off society if this happens, but the overalls and the work boots, okay, where everybody looked like a railroad engineer.
Oh yeah.
I said, if that comes back, I'm done. You know what I mean?
Hey man, then dude, get ready, because it's coming back. It's on its way back already. Hell, you know what? I tell you what, the Timberland boots are coming back.
If you were really cool, you had the one strap hanging off,
Oh
down.
man, I'm not even. Hey, you wouldn't know what I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be the least bit shocked. Hey, you wouldn't know what I'm waiting for the crisscross thing to come back. Where kids are wearing their clothes backwards. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for that. You know what I mean? Honestly, I'm waiting for it. That's when I'm gonna be done. It's like, man, we already did that. You're biting now. Like now you're just now you're just biting off our stuff.
But those black and purple hammer pants that I own that I wore to school my freshman year of high school, right? And then the other thing that I see coming up is we're starting to do the designs in the head. I mean, I went through the vanilla ice. I went through the vanilla ice thing, right?
Oh man, you already know it's coming back, man. It's all oh man, you about to relive. Hey, you're about to relive it all. You're about to relive it all. Get ready. Get ready. I guess you wouldn't know what. I tell you what. I guess when my parents told me a long time ago, it's like, oh, we already did this. We already did all this. When they told me that, I kind of figured that they were lying. You know what I'm saying? I kind of figured they were lying. But, and you know what? Now not so much anymore. Not so much.
Because they looked at us when we were 15 or 14 or whatever until we were like 25. Our parents looked at us like we were morons, and they kept telling us, they're like, we already did this, right?
You don't know, Dad. You don't know.
Right. You don't know what I'm going through, blah, blah, blah. And then we get older, and it's like you say that to your kids, and you're like, son of a bitch.
Like, man, here it is. My parents, you know what? When they said it comes back sevenfold, you know what? I believe them now. You know what? I believe it. I believe it wholeheartedly now. Is you want to know what? That it is very true. It's very true.
I told my son, I don't know, it was probably a year ago. I think he was still 20 at the time. Maybe he was 19. So maybe I got so angry with him. And I said, you know what, buddy? And he's, what's that? And I said, I don't like you right now. What? And I said, I will always love you. Okay.
Yep.
I will love you to the end of to the end of the world, to the end of the earth,
exactly.
to the universe. I said, but right now I do not like you. Right?
Yep.
He looked at me and said, fair enough, Dad. Fair enough.
Yeah. Oh, I tell my daughters that all the time. Like, I can't stand y'all. Like, y'all know y'all get on my last nerve. Yep. You know, hey, don't worry. Hey, if it came down to like my daughter's lives and the world, I will fly into this planet with the 10 billion megaton nuke on my back. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, but at the same time too, I tell them like, I don't like your ways. I don't like what you're talking about. I don't like any of it. And I remember a lot of them tell me like, a lot of them, and yes, I have a lot of daughters. The lot of them tells me, you know, Dad, you're just old.
Yep.
Yeah, you wanna know what? Yeah, I'm old. You know what? I'm old, and I can't stand you. You new people.
my son told me when I turned 40 4 years ago. He said, "Happy birthday, Dad." And I said, "Well, thanks, buddy." He said, "You know, I'd avoid antique shops at this point in your life because somebody might try and buy you."
Ouch. Sell him. Just sell him off. Just sell him. Don't hey, just sell him away. Like, just get rid of him. If he's gonna be hurtful, then this is.
We gotta close this out. It's getting dark there. And
yeah. Cincinnati is getting dark. Oh, yeah. Yep.
I know.
Yep. I came outside just so we got peace, but yeah.
I appreciate you, Eddie. I want to bring you back on a different show because I think we had a very constructive conversation. And I think I've proven, and I do this all the time, that I know of people or I know people through people, and I tell everybody we can bring two complete strangers together.
Yeah.
And through communication, we can find common ground, and that is the very first step in making a difference to progress the initiative of everybody. Right?
Exactly.
The right way. So I appreciate I appreciate you coming on the show, man.
Oh, no problem, man. Whenever, hell, if you can do it with more people, bring some people I can argue with.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the first step, right? So we do this interview of you and me, and then and then I'm going to come up with different topics, and we're going to bring different people on, and we're going to find common ground. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
That's the establishment of the initial conversation, and then let's take that next step, and let's just come up. You can have somebody who thinks that every Tuesday everybody should by law have to wear pink clothing, right?
Yeah.
And I'll bring you back. I'll say, go, Eddie. Right?
Yeah. Hey, man. Hey, I tell you what. Unleash me on some guys who aren't. Unleash me on some guys who aren't believers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unleash me. Oh, I tell you what. Hey, unleash me on some guys who give us an hour and a half to argue and yell and scream at each other on your page. Don't worry. I'll make you proud, man.
Yeah. I appreciate you, man. We're gonna end this out.
Alrighty, man. You have a good night, man.
You too, Eddie. Thanks, man.
Oh, behave yourself, brother.
All right, you too.
You too. Bye.